What up, you weirdos? Dave here, and I like knives. Here to talk to you today about the Gerber suspension. This is a budget multi-tool from Gerber with a main blade right there of a little less than 2 inches, about 1 3/4, a handle length of 4 inches, a handle width at the widest part back here of 2 inches, a depth of, again, a little less than 2 inches, about 1 3/4, and weighs in at a surprising 9 ounces. The website says 9 ounces. I would not be surprised if this was actually even beefier than that. I wasn't expecting it to be so heavy, but this is definitely a solid piece of tool. Let's start out with what is great about. Let's start out with a discussion about this tool, because I have actually kind of hated this thing from afar. Uh, I I didn't own one until somewhat recently, but I have handled one in the past. Dude I used to work with had this in his truck, and I picked it up and played with it, but I couldn't figure out how the locks worked. I think that was actually the biggest problem for me. And I didn't like the shape. I still don't honestly like the shape, but I'll get into that later. But I was just immediately turned off of this thing. Uh, I was prejudiced against it, and that's not okay, because I actually kind of like this thing. Um, this this is not my favorite tool, but I like it. It has a place in the world. And for me, that place is actually now in my bag. My wave has moved off to fill other duties, so this will now be in my bag. So I like it. Overall, getting that out there. I used to hate this, then I played with it, and now I like it. What is great about it are the pliers. These are spring action, which I quite enjoy. They are anvil style, which I don't like. The plier blades, the wire cutter blades, they pinch instead of cut. They pinch. But these, at least, are decent. There are a lot on, especially in Gerber's line. I've reviewed the Crucial, the Bull Rush that had anvil style, and those were garbage. These are actually pretty good. So I don't like that, but it works. Very delicate tip. 3D. These are solid pliers. I like them. The handles down here in the bottom, that little black piece, is actually a little piece of rubber. So while I don't like the handle shape while it's closed, it makes it immensely more ergonomic when the pliers are open. So the handle shape I used to hate, but now it is definitely a mixed bag, but in a good way for me. And it's solid enough that you can squeeze as hard as you want and never fear that you are going to injure it, that you're never going to damage it. And that rubber piece, that little bulb out there, just fits so nicely in the palm. Great, great pliers. I would not consider these any kind of heavy duty, but they definitely work for most anything that you would have to throw at them, especially if you need to use some needlepoint. What else is great is the blade. This is another weird one for me, because I hate short blades, and I'm not a tremendous fan of Wharncliffe on a multi-tool. I'm especially not a fan of mystery steel blades, which most Gerbers are. But I see where this comes into play. Especially in the job that I used to have, working HVAC systems. This tool would be perfect for that. Especially this style of blade, cut into insulation, cut you a little gouge, and that's actually the guy that I used to work with. This is the tool that he had doing that job. So this would be perfect for that. This is not going to be a general use knife. I see this as very specific, as most Wharncliffes are. But it's good for the purpose that I see this as. Excellent. It's not going to be my EDC. It's not going to be my favorite, but for most tradesmen, I guess electricians cutting open wires and cables and stuff, the insulation. I know you don't whatever. This is good. I believe good scissors, as most Gerbers are. That's actually a mixed bag for me, because right in there you can see the little nail gouge, but it's hard to get in there. All the other nail nicks are, I just cut my nails recently, so this isn't entirely fair to display this immediately. All the other nail nicks are fine. The one on the scissors and the saw are frustrating. So you kind of have to get your... No, I just talked about how much I like this. Come here. Oh boy, this is one of those days I wish I knew how to edit. Come on. Guys, I apologize for everything I am and choose to be. Okay, luckily it has a little hole in the back here, so if you got it closed and you have a pen handy, you don't ever have to worry about it. Saved it. These are Fisker scissors. They're short but stout, much like the best of teapots, and they're good. And I've already wasted too much time on that. The lock. This is something that the SOG, my SOG, Power Play, thank you. My SOG Power Play has a lock system kind of like this. But that, I should have it next to me, but I honestly don't know where it is. But that one was frustrating because it was, I forgot what the actual issue was. I think it's too wide for me to comfortably get my hands around both sets of locks. But this one, the tool is so small that what I do is set the hinge down here so that I can pinch both sides, because that's what these here are. That's the lock. You pull back on it, and just like that. So easy one-hand deployment. Fine one-hand put back away. So I honestly shouldn't have put that on great, should have put that on good, but it's fine. I don't mind it nearly as much as I had expected to. Something that is garbage, the sheath. And it's not actually garbage, it's just in a style that I don't like. When you have the two sheets of nylon, it just feels cheap. It feels cheaper than I believe that it is, which is frustrating for me. Tool sits in there. Good belt loops, you have both ways. Cheap feeling piece of Velcro in there. I don't like Velcro in general, and this feels like not a very good Velcro. The case is not as dense and stiff as I was expecting it. With a nylon sheath, I prefer it to be a rigid sheath. I believe the Bull Rush had that. And this is not that. But this, it's fine. The sheath I would count as the negative side of fine. I can absolutely see this being useful to you. It is for me, just because I don't have anywhere else to put this. I would rather put this in a different sheath that I trust a bit more, but this is fine. Also has drivers. There we go. Ow. Also has drivers in the... There we go. Has a little small micro driver there, a wider flathead, a 2D Phillips. Not a fan of the 2D, but I mean, I understand you got to shrink it, put it in a tiny package. A can opener and a bottle opener. I like it when those are combined into one tool. Gerber, from my experience, makes solid can openers. I've never tried to use this. It's possible I never will, but from all evidence, it looks fine. If you know more about judging can openers than I do, you're welcome to comment down below. Also has a saw and a serrated blade. I'll get back to that. Boop. Just pick that out. This is a good saw. Subtle teeth, they're very small. They're not as aggressive on, say, my Leatherman Wave. So this will definitely be easier to use than that. This has the ramping that I've begun to notice more and more on multi-tools. Again, the ramping is not as intense as on the Leatherman Wave, but this is meant for much smaller projects than that saw is. So it makes sense. My main issue with the saw is that it's not cooperating while I'm trying to, thank you, is that it was clearly created for another tool and then put on this one. Because if it were created for this tool, that nail nick would stick up a little bit more. There's a lot of dead space in there that you gotta get you can't even actually use the nail nick. What I do is just reach my finger in there and then press it against the outside wall and pull it. So if you've got any kind of water or oil or whatever on your finger, there's no way that you can do that. So the saw itself is fine. The deployment is lazy, I'm going to say. So there we go. Serrated blade is, again, mystery steel. Again, 1.75 inches. And again, it's fine. I have no reason to say anything bad about this. I wish the teeth were a little bit more intense. We've already got a plain edge, so if you're making this serrated, why not go balls to the wall for it? But whatevs. Good thumb stud deployment. I actually really like this. The thumb studs are ramped, right? There you can see it a little bit, which makes it easy to find and pull out with your finger. I like that. Also have little decals. There you see the plain edge. There's scissors. There's your saw. There's your serrated. Again, I wish that the pictures of the plane and the serrated were more different so they'd be easier to tell apart, but again, not that big a deal. Gerber sells this for $44 on their website, which definitely feels high. Amazon for $33, Walmart for $27, and I believe that I got this from Academy for $28. If you are a tradesman and you regularly beat up on your tools and you need something that you know won't fail you, but you don't have to care too terribly much about because you can replace it cheaply enough, this is a good place to go. Academy, I almost always see these at Walmart in the glass case. This is a good tool. I don't love it by any means, but I definitely respect it much more than I used to. Out of 10 stars, I give this a, huh. So there you go. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please let me know below. And other than that, have a great day.